Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we are joined by a very special guest, professional hockey player Kyle Shapiro. Kyle most recently played in the East Coast Hockey League with the Jacksonville Icemen. Kyle has played in the ECHL with the Evansville Icemen, Indy Fuel, Orlando Solar Bears, and the Jacksonville Icemen, while playing in the SPHL, the Southern Professional Hockey League, for the Columbus Cottonmouths, Fayetteville Fire Ants, and the Pensacola Ice Flyers, as well as a stint in Brest in the France 2 division throughout his pro career. He spent his junior hockey days in the WSHL and the NPHL and played 4 years of NCAA Division III hockey with Nichols College. So this can be a fun episode, Kyle. So welcome to the show, Kyle Shapiro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's gonna be a fun one. But to start things off, like, how are you? How have things been with you? And just being able to just be out and wherever you are right now.
Yeah, I'm in Cape Cod, so it's not bad. Winters suck, but
Yeah.
there's definitely worse places. Yeah, not bad. Done playing now and just working. That's it.
Yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing now since you're done with hockey?
I still do hockey, so we basically run a player development company here, and work with all ages. Summertime is like a lot of older kids plus younger kids. This time of year, we do a lot of contract work with various programs, like a lot of youth and whatnot.
Yeah. And how has that transition been from going out from your career into this path and just being able to develop players, and especially with what you learned throughout your career?
Oh, it's good. It's not such an easy transition in terms of from a teaching standpoint. From you being on the ice, it's fine. But from a teaching standpoint, like especially when you're working with youth, you really gotta kind of learn what gets them going because you're so used to such a high level of honestly like perfectionism. You can't mess up, don't miss
Yeah.
passes, and you're whatever. So that's one of the biggest things is kind of like you're not at that level, right? So you kind of have to really know when and when not to like pick your spots to say what you need to say and just like let things happen. But yeah, no, it's fun. Like I have a good time. I learn a lot. Like you learn a lot when you're with 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old like hockey players. So it's fun. We have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. And like with just being with the youth, like especially at the younger age, like like they mess around at practice, like don't really pay attention, but you just gotta find that like midpoint where you can actually like say stuff and like teach them, and just let them just do what they want and just have fun with the game, because that's why we're all here.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like one of the biggest things too. I had a conversation with some of one of the program coaches, and they were asking me like, "Hey, do you see anything that we could work on?" And I go, honestly, I'm like, think about it like this. I'm like, what do you remember when you were 8? and everyone's got the same answers. They remember games, like they always remember like 1 or 2 power skating things, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, like, I mean, you're not reinventing the wheel. You know what I mean? Use what you
Yeah.
like that you had fun with, and make it fun for them. So
Yeah, that was pretty much all I would remember. It's just the games and just
yeah,
having fun, because if you're playing the game, you have to be having fun. Like if you're not, like what are you doing?
exactly.
Yeah, but I wanna take the rest of this time to go over like your career a little bit here. So you grew up in Ambler, Pennsylvania. So like what was it like growing up in Pennsylvania throughout like youth hockey, and like how old were you when you started playing hockey?
Yeah, so I grew up right outside Philadelphia, so that's where that's located. If anyone doesn't know, when I there, from what I know now, I go back every once in a while. They have a pretty big market in terms of like hockey and players. A couple of my buddies run some stuff in that area, and they're pretty successful. But when I grew up, especially as a friendship thing, like no one that I went to high school with, except with the exception of like one kid, played hockey. So like I always played youth, travel, whatever. Um, but there was good teams. Like there was nationally ranked teams in the area. Like you traveled a lot. Basically, my whole
Yeah.
schedule was hockey. It kept me out of trouble for sure. Like you look back on it now, and it was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, no, that's about it. I played for like a couple different teams in the area when I grew up, and that was it. Just a normal, like, went to public school. Yeah, in my area, you have the option of going to like some pretty good prep schools. Like there's a little Sal, GA, and stuff. At the time, I was like such an idiot. I was just like, wait, I got to take a test to go to school. Like I'm out. I should have done it,
Yeah.
but like at the time, I had no idea. And like my family wasn't really well versed in hockey. Like I was the first of like my family to ever play hockey. So
Yeah.
it was just kind of like you just do it and you figure it out from there.
Yeah, and like we talked about, like in youth, like it's all about just having fun and just learning the little basics. Because once you get to those like higher leagues, higher levels, competition gets better, and like that's when you start to really develop and really like get to know the game and know your role.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so then you began your junior career with the El Paso Rhinos in the WSHL, where you played for 2 years there. So like, what was the process like to sign in El Paso?
Yeah, so I played I forget it was my junior or senior year, like while I was in high school living at home. I played at the time, I don't even know what it's called now. It was like junior B hockey. It was just junior
Yeah.
hockey. I guess I was like, I don't know. I guess because you could play 18U then, but I played junior hockey, and then I went to not a showcase, but we had a tournament somewhere. And I happened to just get scouted by it was Topeka Roadrunners of the NAHL. And they were like a dominant team. Now I had no idea
Yeah.
what the NAHL was, but like at the time, but I ended up just going to their main camp, didn't make it, then got a call from some team in El Paso, Texas. And I was like, I kind of really liked the idea of, like, I wasn't going to college. Like I didn't have good grades or
Yeah.
anything. And so it was like, I just did it. Like there was no rhyme or reason. I was like, yeah, sure. But man, we went down to this place and they packed the house, like 3,000 fans. I'm pretty sure they just won like the Hockey Craft USA like last year.
Yeah.
So their barn's even like better than I guess it was when I was there. But they had like packed house, middle of, not the middle, but you're basically in Mexico. Full Reebok sponsorship. Like we didn't get sticks at the time, but I wasn't accustomed to getting sticks then,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like a thing. But like helmets, gloves, travel bags. We had a bus. I don't know. It was awesome. We lived in apartments, and at the time that was unheard of. So I was like 18 years old playing essentially professional hockey in living in an apartment, you know? So yeah, that's it. Ended up there. And then I got traded my last year, ended up in Helena, I won national championship there, and then ended up in college.
Yeah, you were living the good life, because that's like
Yeah.
a high profile like organization. Like you would never hear that a few years ago, where like all these organizations now are like high class and like having like providing like all these things for their players.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, no, we had to kind of go out on our own to get the apartments, but it was always known that it was an option. And then kind of, everyone was like, well, no, I'm gonna live in an apartment. So, but
Yeah,
it was awesome.
absolutely.
You become like self-sufficient way
Yeah.
earlier than most people, right? Because even if you go to college, like everything's given to you,
Yeah.
so like you still don't know. So like then it was like, oh, I gotta learn how to do whatever and make sure you're up and go to practice. If not, you're essentially out of a job. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was it. I ended up down there and kind of just like loved it. Had like lifelong friends, and I don't know, just stayed a little longer than I should have, but like stayed.
Yeah, at least you stayed. But like when you did get that like main camp invite to Topeka and you got cut, like what was your mindset like during that time? And like obviously like you're gonna mature as you grow as you get older, but like what was your mindset during that time and then before being able to sign with El Paso?
Yeah, so like I understand your question of mindset, and it'd be a different answer if you asked me kind of like my pro career or college career. But at
Mhm.
the time, like I just played hockey. Like it wasn't, it wasn't like it was now. Like I just played hockey. I went to a camp. I didn't make it. I was like, oh, it sucked, but like
Yeah.
that was that. Like I had a team at home. Like I just went to a tryout, right? I didn't know anything about it. It was a good learning experience. So it wasn't like I was like super devastated and like contemplating not playing hockey and whatever simply because I got cut from a team. Like I said, like I didn't know what the NA was. You just go at that time, you went on the website, you saw all they had a bunch of D1 commits, pro guys, and whatever. You're like, oh, it's obviously a good league, and that's kind of what happened. So like the mindset didn't take too much effect simply because I was so young. Like I was in
Yeah.
Chicago. Like I flew to Chicago, had a great time, and went home. Like that was it.
Yeah, you get a lot of learning experience there, and like you just take that on to wherever you go next, whether it be high school, whether it be another junior team like El Paso, or wherever you end up. Like you just take whatever you learn from there and bring it to the next team.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's all it was, If I was a little bit higher caliber player at the time and had like was well versed in kind of how it worked, like that probably would have been, upset and whatever. But
Yeah.
no, just like basically it was essentially I went to a hockey tournament and came home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So like then you go on to your first year of junior hockey with El Paso. So like what was it like getting that opportunity to play in 48 games and getting like right in the dust of things and getting that experience?
Yeah, no, it was good. Like the players down there were good. A lot of hidden gems. It's a really tough league, right? Like I wasn't
Yeah.
used to it, but like in hindsight, it really prepares you to kind of just be not like tough, but not like fighting tough, but just tough, right? And but that was it. Just I played with some older guys, and I was a little bit younger, and we had a good crew, kind of like my class, whatever you want to call it, that came in,
Yeah.
and yeah, just I don't remember much about it, to be honest. It was just like it was so long ago, and I just remember my friends and anything crazy that happened, and but it was good. Like I enjoyed it. Like I stayed there for 2.5 years, right? So I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, you had to enjoy if you're staying there for more than a year and 2.5 years. Like you got to be enjoying the time there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, what was like one of the biggest things you learned throughout that first year, those first 2 years of juniors that led you to the next level?
Honestly, the biggest things that I took, and it was kind of the way the owner slash coach, whatever, like structured. It was like I think we practiced at 7 a.m. every morning. I honestly want to say 6, but I think it was 7. And it was like, he was like a no nonsense type guy. It
Yeah,
was if you missed practice at 7, like you most likely were going home. Um, and it's kind of just like being responsible. Like you're responsible for yourself and no one else. Like uh and hard work, right? Like
yeah,
that was it. Like that was the MO. It was like hard work and you're responsible for yourself. Everything else was just like, there were some systems, but if you're playing hockey, you need to understand what you're doing on the ice. At that level, you probably should. But yeah, that was it. Really hard work and be on time for things.
yeah. All the chips should come together after being responsible and working hard. Like everything else should just fall in place.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely wasn't the most skilled league, right? So
Yeah.
working hard and competing against people.
Yeah, for sure. So then the next year you found yourself playing 50 games for the Rhinos. Like what were you able to take from that first year to help produce more points and like feel more confident with your game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything was different. It was just like, experience in any level. Like you wonder why some guys in the NHL are so good. They've played so many games at highest level, right? Like
Yeah.
experiences in anything you do help you become better. So I think just one full year, I was a year older. I was like, I guess upper, I don't even know, like a vet or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, a vet in junior hockey. Yeah, so I just another year, I had success my first year. So just kind of carried it over. And it was a team where like, if you weren't producing in some facet, like you weren't going to be there. Right. So
Yeah.
like complacency isn't really an issue because there's no room for it.
Yeah, you're a second year vet there, and you're just living the life, living the dream, and just trying to get better every day.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, I obviously like probably get a few more opportunities on power play and whatever
Yeah.
it may be. And especially at that level, like to have success in the future, like this is just from me playing for so long, is that you need to be a guy that can be utilized in every situation. Like if you're playing in that league and you can only play power play, like your success is pretty limited in the future because like you're not going to be a power play guy when you go to, high end college or pro.
Yeah.
Like maybe, but like most likely not. Like so you need to know how to play basically all avenues. So yeah, that was kind of it. I just had more success in different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout that second year, you had 104 penalty minutes that year. It's like, how many fights did you end up getting in, or was it just like minor penalties?
I can't give you a number. Like I never was a fighter. I guess I was big and strong and I would always stick like, it's a team game. You stick up for my
Yeah.
teammates. Like
Yeah.
but we, like I said, man, we played in the jungle. Like that's what we called it, right? It was like that's what it was. There was like multiple fights a game. I'm pretty sure you go on YouTube. There's like a line brawl of us. Like you know what I mean? Like that stuff doesn't happen as much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the penalty minutes don't really reflect, I would say, my game. It just really reflects like that league and the style our team played. So yeah, like I don't know, just a combo of it all.
Yeah, you just gotta stick up for teammates whenever it's warranted, and then like you're in the jungle, so you gotta fight your way out.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was a lot of fights just cause like that's what you did. So it was like, I definitely wasn't the fighter on our team. I was just one
Yeah.
of, I guess, the guys that could do it.
Yeah, for sure. So then the following year, you moved to the NPHL, where you played 3 games with the Bozeman Ice Dogs, and then 16 games with the Helena Bighorns, where you won the national championship there. So, like, what was that step in the process like of going to a new team in a new league and having to like reestablish yourself and gain that new respect?
Yeah, I mean it's tough like that, like to go to your question of like getting cut from that NA main camp or whatever it was. Like when I got traded from here, that was like really, I was like, oh man, like that one hit hard. I'd spent so long and whatever. But it was kind of one of those things. It was like my options were okay, stop playing, which I contemplated, right? But that's more of
Yeah.
like your fight or flight response. And then as I kind of, I think I had a couple of days to think it over, and I was just like, it's the end of season, like whatever, we'll go up there. I had a good conversation. So the head coach at that time was a guy named Bill Zamboni. Bill actually, ironically, is a head coach of a EHL team here on Cape Cod. So I still see him to this day, and I had a good conversation with him. And the one thing that he does and he did was at the time was like he'll do everything he can to get you to college. Like, and I spent
Yeah.
2.5 years playing for an organization where I didn't have much college exposure because of where I was and whatnot. So I went there and I was there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and he did a lot for me, and then ended up kind of just getting traded based off of we weren't making playoffs. So it was like, hey, you're
Yeah.
a good player, go, So I ended up going to Helena, and Helena was, man, like one of the best coaches I've ever played for. His name was Scott Cunningham. And we just had a team, right, of all good players. Like, so I was just able to go to a team and that was successful, and didn't have to do too much, right? Just like be a solid player when asked to be a solid player. But yeah, so really the biggest thing is like, it's always weird in anything you do going into a new locker room, right? You don't know anybody, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like everyone's the same, right? So kind of just show up, do your job, and eventually you make friends.
Yeah, you're all playing the game of hockey, the game you love. Like it makes it so much easier to bond with them because that's what you're doing. You're playing hockey, and then when you work your butt off at practice and during games, like you gain that respect from everyone. Like it's a lot easier to meet new people and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So It was, it's weird at first, or it's more, I would say more now that I'm older, you make it more, you build it up in your head where it's like this big weird thing, but it's really not, like, you know what I mean? Because if you think about it on the other way, like, what do you think when new guys walk into your locker room, right? It's like, oh man. So it's really not the end of the world, but it's just, just show up and do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you won then the national championship that year with Helena. So like, what was that experience like, and just being able to go all the way to the championship?
Yeah, like playing at that level at the time, right? That's like the creme de la creme or whatever. Yeah. So it was like, I don't know, it was a great experience. It sucked. I think, where was it? It was in Minnesota, I think, Rochester. Yeah. So we bussed from Montana there because he wouldn't fly because they lost the year before. So he was like super, I don't know, something happened to him. It was terrible. So we bussed there and yeah, it was a good time. Like everyone's family's there. It's nationals and you're playing like the best teams in the country at that level. And so ended up winning. I just remember like it was a surreal feeling and yeah, it was awesome, right? But
yeah,
bus home, and they actually had like a little police escort for us when we showed up.
So that's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It was a great experience, right? Like can't really take that away from anyone, but
yeah. How long was that bus trip from Montana?
Dude, I don't know. It was you're so young. We stopped. Like I remember we stopped in St. Louis. We practiced and some other stuff. But yeah, you don't know. I've taken so many bus trips. Like it was one of the long bus trips we took. So
everything just becomes a blur at that point.
Yeah, exactly. You're just on the bus. But at that time, there was no, like, I didn't have Netflix. I didn't have there's no iPods, right? There was no, like, I think you could download some if you had like an MP3 player or some sort. You could have some music. So I don't even remember what we did on the bus. Just movies, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's all you can do at that point is just watch movies and have time pass.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was just that. Went to Rochester.
Yeah. So then after your junior hockey career came to a close, you began your college hockey journey by going to Nichols College. Like, what made you choose Nichols to be your school for the next 4 years?
So I didn't have many options at the time, to be honest with you. I had some buddies that went to Nichols. I started the application process. I didn't have good grades. So if anybody's listening to this and you want to play hockey, like get your grades up. But yeah, like I didn't have good grades. And so any school that kind of reached out to me, it was like the same never ending thing. It was just like, once they asked all my transcripts, it was just like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had buddies that went there, ended up going there. I loved it. Small school. We became at that level, like, I don't want to say a powerhouse, but we were a nationally ranked program. And so yeah, like in retrospect, it turned out to be a good deal, but ended up there because I had friends and coach talked to me because they, kind of set it up. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah. So then you go on to play college hockey. So like, what was that transition from playing in Helena to playing Division III college?
Yeah, no, it was in terms of like skill wise, it wasn't too much different, to be honest with you. Obviously, it wasn't as tough because you couldn't be. That was like the biggest things. I'd always get dumb penalties for hitting, like nothing crazy, like not cheap, but like it just wasn't. There were certain aspects of it that you couldn't do, or there wasn't whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I have food delivered. So yeah. So it wasn't much different, to be honest with you, in terms of like the competitiveness and whatnot. But yeah, I think just the physicality was toned down into more a different aspect. Like guys were like bigger and tough, like stronger, but it was a little faster. But yeah, wasn't that much of a difference, to be honest with you. Yeah, just like guys bigger, older, faster, and
yeah. So like, what do you do to help yourself get bigger and stronger when you are playing against guys that are bigger and stronger, and just being able to compete with these guys?
Yeah. So like, I mean, you go to the gym, right? But I was so young, and like I always went to the gym. Like that's what I had to do. So like I'd go to the gym, I'd have a workout, and I would lift, but I never had like a trainer, right? And my sophomore year, I was like, I had pretty successful, like, first 2 years. And I remember talking to my coach and I go, hey, like, I think I want to transfer just because I wasn't being pushed.
Yeah.
And he ended up was like, no. But he was like, he was not like in an asshole way or anything. But he was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'll set you up in one of his buddies, his college roommate's dad owned a facility in Mississauga, Ontario called the Athletic Training Center. And it's like, I would say a world renowned facility, like Tavares, Subban, and all of them train there. A lot of like young guys that are in the NHL now were there, like when I
Yeah.
was super young. So like back to, I always thought I was, working out. Like it was always like quick. Like if you ever did sprints, I was always quick, but like I was like kind of, I wouldn't say fat, but it wasn't like skinny, right? But I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I worked out every day and whatever. But yeah, really like the biggest thing to me that kind of like elevated my game was a trainer, like a solid, but not just like a one-on-one trainer, like a trainer in a group environment with high-end players where
Yeah.
like just like you're being pushed on the ice, like I was being pushed in the gym and I wasn't a top dog in the gym, so I needed to figure it out.
Yeah, and you're like just competing with everyone in like the training like circle, and you're just it pushes you to be better, and it pushes everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. So like in terms of getting bigger and stronger, a lot of eating, like now eating and that. So like in terms of like over my 4 year span, the biggest thing for me was training and eating. Like if I could credit it to one thing, like that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like what was your college hockey like for those 4 years, like going from freshman to senior year? I think your senior year was your career best in college. Like go just developing from freshman year to senior year, like what was that all about, and just being able to experience everything you did?
Yeah, we I mean, obviously, like we said before, experiences kind of make you better. So building up the whole time, I had more experience. I was getting older. I was getting bigger. I was getting faster. But I mean, we also like it was more of a team thing. Like we brought in great guys. We got a new coach my second year, so my sophomore year. So really, that's kind of what elevated my game, but also like the team game was just having a solid group around and good coaching. That
Yeah.
was it. And then just being able to, especially as a freshman, being able to play basically every game and play in like high level situations, like those power play, penalty kill, whatever. So just getting those experiences at a younger age and then continuing.
Yeah. So throughout like all your college career, like what were some of your like your favorite memories that stand out?
Hockey wise, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So honestly, the first championship, I'd say that was like, I mean, that's what you work for, right? And then being
Yeah.
able to go to nationals and well, I mean, obviously, probably the first thing was being nationally ranked, right? They only rank
Yeah.
the top 15 teams, so it's like,
So if
you
you're
know,
up there, it's
yeah,
kind of a
like
big deal.
it's a big thing to be up there. You walk around like a little bit bigger, especially when you go
Yeah.
into rinks and teams have to play you. And then after that, it was probably our first championship, and then yeah, and then we won a second championship my senior year. But that was it, right? Just like being able to, probably nationally ranked, and then our first championship was the two things.
Yeah. So like what was that second championship like? And since it was your senior year and you're going out as a champion, looking onto your pro career.
Yeah, like that. I mean, the second championship and we were good, right? So if we lost, we did something wrong. So it was kind
Yeah.
of just like, I wasn't as like, this sounds weird. Like I was excited we won, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as exciting as like the first year. Like we
Yeah.
won in overtime and I don't know. It so that's kind of, I mean, but it's great too. Like I've always thought about that because of being, if I would have not won my senior year, how like I went out, besides we didn't win nationals, like we didn't come close, but like um in terms of it being in the league, like we won, like so that's your first goal, right? And your second goal
Yeah.
is nationals. So it's like I don't want to say I went out on top, but like in terms of like that, like I went out on and with a win, and I guess what more could you ask for besides winning nationals, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So then you go on to professional hockey after your senior year, where you sign an East Coast deal with the Evansville Icemen. So like What was the process like to sign in Evansville right out of school?
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Honestly, like I always knew I wanted to essentially like get paid to play hockey, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's everyone's
yeah,
dream.
yeah, exactly. So especially my senior year and the success I had, and I just like kind of knew it was a possibility that like at some level I'd be getting like an offer or like an option
Yeah,
to play. Um, so I remember we won or lost in nationals, and then it's usually the way it works in like that D3 and D1 it might be the same is like around that national times it's like every school spring break. So
yeah,
it's like usually if you go pretty far you miss spring break. Which is I guess not the worst toss up, but so we lost and like literally obviously after everyone settled down it was like hey guys like we're on spring break so like everyone packed the car and like so like I don't know if it was like a Saturday we lost on but like on a Saturday we lost Sunday morning like everyone was driving down to Florida and like my parents live in Philadelphia so I was like all right like I'm gonna drive down that way but like I had my coach had told me like hey someone might call you so
yeah,
bring your gear home and have your phone on. I'm like, okay. So it was like, my goal was like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'll wait 2 or 3 days. And if no one calls, like I'm going to Florida. So I ended up, I think it was like, I think I legit still have the voicemail just because it was like my first ever pro deal. It was like
yeah,
the Evansville coach. Like, I think he called me at like 10 at night and I missed it. I had no idea. I think like, I don't even think it rang. And I remember like voicemail looking at it and it was like the guy goes, we want to bring you in, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, whatever. So I ended up getting a hold of him the next morning. And I ended up just driving out there because I was like, I wanted my car and I didn't know anything at the time. So I just drove out
yeah.
there and was in Evansville and when they were in the East Coast League at the time.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing because everyone's going to Florida. You're like, maybe I'll go to Florida, and then you're like, and
Yeah.
then your coach like, you could be going somewhere soon. So just be ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. So literally the process for me was I think my coach had a couple conversations with some people. So in terms of the process, like the name was out there, but I didn't do anything. I don't think there was much done. You know,
Yeah,
that at that time of year, coaches are really just looking for players they can bring in that they think are the right mold. And I guess at the time I fit that.
yeah, for sure. So you get there in Evansville and you play in 11 games with the Icemen, where you got there collecting your first four pro assists. So like, what were those first 11 games like in adjusting to the pro hockey lifestyle?
Oh man, it was like I was I was way underweight right after playing a full season. Like I was way underweight. The game was so different, and at that time they were sponsored by CCM. So CCM, like you know, I was like college Bauer kid. Like that's all I
Yeah,
used. Like, and I go there and like it's a little bit different because you get what they give you, and it's good quality and
yeah,
stuff. But the sticks like aren't the same, and I had this like red cinder block. Like I'm like, they're gonna cut me tomorrow. I can't even lift the puck off the ice. Um, but yeah, no, just like faster, bigger guys that play at like the highest levels you could
yeah,
imagine. They come from everywhere, right? And my first, no lie, first shift, and I didn't know this rule. No one told me. First shift, face off D zone. I get the puck, backhanded over the glass. I go in the box. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. We end up scoring. We end up scoring on it. So like shorthanded, I'm in the box, we
shorty.
score. And like when they weren't a good team, I think they were last place. So it was like it was just a free for all. And
Yeah, so you have nothing to lose there, pretty much.
yeah, but that was it. Like we were playing. I remember. I think my first two games were against the Florida Everblades, which at the time, even though they've always been a dominant program, like
Yeah,
even as my career moved on, like they were sick. That year, they had like these kids, like Hobie Baker finalists. Like they were. I've never seen anything like it. It was like, oh my god, these guys are unreal. But it was like, so the first game we did well, and then the second game, I remember, I'm pretty sure I went -4. Like they just lit us up. But yeah, and
yeah.
then a lot of traveling. It was just so different, especially coming from D3. Like you staying in hotels, traveling, but yeah. So just guys were bigger, faster, and better.
Yeah, but what a look going -4 and then first play of the game, first shift, you put it over the glass.
hmm
Yeah, so like then you go on to Columbus with the Cottonmouths the next year in the SB, and you get your first pro goal there. So like, what was it like scoring your first pro goal, and how did it happen?
Oh man, you know what? I'm trying to think. I honestly I don't remember. I don't. This if this sucks, but I how now you got me like stumped. I'm trying to think about it. I mean, I remember like I do remember scoring like first goals.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a great feeling. I don't remember. I don't remember it. So that's ruins this part of the interview. But I I
All
don't
good.
I don't
But
remember it.
all good. But like, what was your first full year pro hockey like, and just finding the success you did, and just like trying to adjust from like we've been talking about this entire thing, like getting that experience from those 11 games in Evansville to going to the SB and having success with Columbus.
Yeah, so I think like I started. Well, I went to camp with South Carolina, right? And I was like, I was doing pretty well, and the coach like liked me, and ended up making a couple like bad plays, and that was that, right? So ended up in Columbus, and I think like I don't think I handled it the best. Like I just was like didn't want to. Not that I didn't want to be there, but I wanted to get back, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, that was it. But besides that, like good. I had some awesome friends, guys I still talk to this day. The coach was awesome. Like it was a good family. The organization was unbelievable. The hockey was good too, right? Like it was definitely, I think my first year was that transition period when it went from like straight gong show to like, okay, like guys need places to play. So
Yeah.
like a lot of high end talent was ending up there. Um, so yeah, it was just tougher, but not like tougher in a way of just like keep your head up and know who's on the ice, but like at the end of the day, just play the game, right? Like, and just different things of like it's not as fast paced as college. Like guys are faster, but the game itself is more controlled, right? So it was just a big adjustment period and just getting opportunities to play like my first year, right? And just
Yeah.
like, and I don't think we weren't the best team either. So it was like just a build up. Like I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get out of there. But yeah, no, like I loved it. Like I ended up as another city like I loved playing for. Great guys, good organization, and just learning. Just basically, it was a good spot to learn the pro game. Like that's that, right? It's like you
Yeah.
always want to be in a situation where you're going to play, and that was a area that I was able to play. Whereas for some reason, if I was in the coast, like and only played like 15 games, it's like it's not really. I mean, practice great, but it's not really benefiting me in the long run.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So would you say like the one of the most important things you learned that year was just getting that like better mindset and like just being able to learn and experience everything you did and just be able to grow yourself as an athlete and as a person just to get to the next level and just stay like even keeled.
Yeah, it really the biggest thing is really just being able to operate at a high level
Yeah.
consistently, right? And if you do that, like good things will come. It's not like if you're doing everything right and to the highest level that you can, especially in that league, and you're producing, like you're not going to stay there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So like what was like your biggest like welcome to the pros moment like when you first got there, like whether it be Evansville or in Columbus, like a story that sticks out and you're like, wow, this is like what it's like to be in the pros.
Um, I'd say honestly, the first thing like was when I was in Evansville. Really, was just like the locker room, the setup, the more everything's on your own, right? Warming up for
Hmm.
games and stuff like that. And then I remember like just getting interviewed, right, and going out and there was tons of fans in a massive arena, right? So that was like the biggest thing. Um, yeah, that was it. And just like the travel, right, of like playing so many
Yeah,
games in a week and just being ready, getting in at like 2 a.m. But yeah,
going four and
hotels,
fives, all that.
yeah, like hotels every day. Like those are the biggest things that was like, oh, this is, and granted, I don't know what it's like to be in the NHL. Like I've heard stories. I have buddies that
Yeah,
play there, but you know,
yeah, but you got to experience everything you did in the minors and the coast and the SB.
yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, so then in your second full season, you move around quite a bit, going from the Indy Fuel to the Orlando Solar Bears. then getting sent down to the SP with the Fayetteville Fire Ants and the Pensacola Ice Flyers. So like, I know we talked about like mindset and like your mindset improving. So like, what was your mindset throughout that year and trying to stay positive in a time of like chaos and traveling the country even more than you did in years past?
Yeah, no, I mean, when I got let go of India, I was just like, man, like why? Because I had success, but
Yeah.
As you move, as you like go, you understand things, and ended up just going down, and it's like one of those things where I knew I wouldn't be down for long, right? It's that time of year when like every roster starts getting cut, so I ended up going
Yeah.
down, but I was like, ended up going to Pensacola, and like if you're gonna go anywhere, and like that's a spot to go.
Right by the
So
beach.
yeah, like we lived in, I'm pretty sure they were like $1 million condos on the beach. Like it was like I had no business living in this place. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I had great friends down there, and we'd go like I remember like I'd be like, all right, I know I have to work out. So they had like a mini gym at the rink. So it's like, all right, get in at 6 a.m., lift. That way I could be done practice at like 11, beach, fish, whatever. And like, yeah, that place was awesome. Um, Ended up moving to Fayetteville, and that one was the biggest one of like when I got traded to Fayetteville. I was just like, oh man, like I don't want to go to Fayetteville. That was like one of the biggest moments where I'm like, all right, do I just keep driving home? And I
Yeah.
remember like I didn't make a decision until I was on 95, like driving. I was just like, what do I do? And then I was like, you know what? I think their captain reached out to me, and he goes, hey, like excited to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, man, like thanks, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I might as well give it a try, like at least whatever. So I ended up going, and like the best core group of guys you could imagine, like all older guys, all good. I liked the coach, like I had a good relationship with him. And Yeah, like so ended up there. And then I remember just like once I kind of got settled in and was able to just like focus on playing and not worry about, okay, well, you used to be in the coast, or like you were just got traded,
Yeah.
like our team was rolling. I think we were in first, and then like one, and I wasn't even expecting it. I kind of just like put the coast thing aside. I was just like, well, whatever. Like it's not
Just roll,
happening. Like,
roll with
yeah,
this
like
team.
I didn't have an agent. Like I wasn't like someone with an agent. Like my
Yeah.
first year, I had a guy that helped out. But like I didn't have an agent, so it was really like. And at the time, I guess what now you could do, like you could send emails and do all that stuff. And like looking back on it, if I really like knew how the whole professional hockey operated, I could have done that at the time, but I
Yeah.
didn't know. I was just happy to play, and then just like one day, I'm like, I remember I was reading a book, and I don't ever read. I was reading a book, and I got a phone call from Orlando's coach, and I'm like, "What?" And then he's just like, "Hey, like we need you to come down, blah blah blah. Like it'll be for a couple of weeks." So I'm like, and that was like, it was the first time where I was just like, maybe I say no, because like I was like, maybe I'm like, do I really want to go for a weekend? So I
Yeah.
ended up talking to our coach, and he goes, "Hey, no, like you should go." Like he's like, "Go." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Like we're like in first place." Like he goes, "No, no." He's like, "Go." So ended up flying out the next morning, and like Orlando at the time was with Toronto, and I'm pretty sure they're still like have an unbelievable
Yeah.
like top end organization. But I get there. I had a limo, like big Escalade. Like I was in the NHL, big Escalade, come pick me up in like private parking, guy in a suit. I'm like, what is going on? And I get because they were in pregame skate. They had a game that day. So I get into the locker room while all the boys are on the ice, and like just this, they play in the Amway, which is like the
Yeah.
biggest. It's essentially an NHL arena, but it's for the NBA team. Ended up going there, and like loved their coach. Like he was awesome, Drake, and the guys were awesome. I had awesome roommates. Like learned so much playing with like all those guys there. They had a good like group of vets. But yeah, like Orlando, it's just like even their practice rink was like outrageous. They have their own locker room at the practice rink connected to this like sports complex with like the most phenomenal gym. And in the public locker room, like you have to be a member to go there, but in the public locker room, like we're just, so if you were a member, you could go there.
Yeah.
they got a cold tub, which is like, what? Who has that? Steam room, sauna. Like I lived there. It was right across the street from the apartments. We played tennis, whatever. But yeah, I loved it. Ended up getting sent back down during like the playoff run, and playing playoffs in Fayetteville. And then and then after that, so that was that whole season. It was just like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just like focused on myself then, really, just like playing.
Yeah, you focus on yourself, then you get a shot at Orlando where you almost didn't go, and then you get all these like cool amenities with it, and then like NHL style like amenities, and you're
Yeah,
in the coast in Orlando. Nothing gets better than that.
yeah, no, it was awesome. It was a good place to spend a little bit of time. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the following year, you start a journey of playing overseas in the France 2 division with Brest. So, like, what was that transition like going from North America to France?
Yeah, I mean, it was like we had a good group. We had a group of guys going over there. So there was like I wasn't going. If I went over by myself, I don't know. My answers will
Yeah.
probably be a little bit different. But I went over with a group of guys. I felt comfortable, like because we talked to the guy. The coach like spoke. He was French Canadian, so like he spoke some sort of English.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of have a decent idea of like what I was getting into. I saw like some pictures, and then I had buddies, and at that time I kind of just like we talked about before, I was just like, all right, well, maybe I'm never gonna like just stick it in the coast. Like I just don't like I played D3 and I just can't like there's guys that are just gonna stay before you, I guess. So um ended up going there and I remember like the first 2 days, I'm just like, where am I? So with that city, I found out later that city got destroyed. I guess it was like the first, and I could be totally wrong. I'm not like in what I'm saying, but it
Yeah.
was like the first landing spot for like um one of the war or like the World War II, maybe. I'm like, I have no idea. But anyway, so everything got destroyed there. And so like most cities when you go to Europe, right, they're pretty colorful in some
Yeah.
aspect and a lot of like architect. Well, this city got destroyed and I guess they built it back so quick, so there wasn't much room for like artistic taste.
Yeah.
Um, so it was like this real like bland city, but it was awesome. It was right on the water. But I remember I'm just like, where the fuck am I? Like, and just coming from America, right? It's way different. Like
Yeah.
you
It's
can go
totally
anywhere,
different.
anytime here and get food, go to the grocery store. There, it's not the same. So it was like a big eye opening. And then hockey there was way different too. Like it just wasn't as serious. But like in terms of learning, seeing things, having a time, like it was amazing. Like I loved it.
Yeah. So the culture shock was pretty different than it is in North America over here.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, like there was like it was France definitely isn't the hockey hotbed, but like they like fan wise and rink wise, like our rink was decent, like good ice and
Yeah.
stuff and whatever. But and like fan wise, like soccer mentality, like it was always packed, like they're chanting, so it was cool, like great experience for sure.
Yeah.
Hockey wise, definitely wasn't the best, and that doesn't speak to all European hockey because there's a ton
Yeah.
of great like hockey. Just the league I played in, I'd say wasn't the best.
Yeah, so then you play a handful of games over there, if I'm not mistaken. Then you go back to the coast in Jacksonville, where you spend like 2.5 years or something like that over there to end your career. It's like what was it like in Jacksonville, and like what made it so special that you kept staying there for the next few years?
Yeah, like Jacksonville was probably honestly one of the best places you could play in that league, and probably just like obviously I'm talking fan wise and
Yeah,
location, even in like the AHL. And obviously like I've never played in AHL, so uh but yeah, like they had awesome organization. The amenities were awesome. You're so close to the beach. And one of the biggest things really is like life outside of the rink, right? Because like you take so much pressure and like mental stress during the season, especially at that
yeah,
level and all the movement is like you need to be able to kind of do something that's not sitting in your apartment playing video games all day. So like there was so much to do there and I had great friends and yeah, like I loved it. Like it's such an amazing city and great place to play. So
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of
like
like why I kept going back, and they kept accepting me back, and yeah, it was a place that I like to live. So
yeah, and like throughout that time, like you just want to keep going where you're comfortable, especially at the end, towards the end of your career. Like you just want to do everything you can to stay in one place and just find that comfort that and find that you're comfortable there, as well as like the amenities there. Like you don't have to think about the game like all the time. Like when you're at the rink, like obviously you're gonna think about the game and all that. But like there's always stuff to do outside and get your mind off hockey for a little bit.
yeah, exactly. Like yeah, it's just an amazing place to play. Great people, like top down organization. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a few more questions before we wrap things up here. So, do you have any tips for hockey players looking to get to that next level?
um, yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on what level you're at, but really like like the biggest thing is really like you gotta look at yourself and really like see if you want it, right?
Yeah,
Like, and that goes for everything. Like you gotta show up, you gotta do the extra, you need to put in the work, right? And don't really compare yourself to what's going on around you, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, as long as you're like putting in the work, and like there's a difference between putting in the work and actually putting in the work. Like a lot of people think they're doing it, but it's like, you
it's a
know,
big difference.
yeah, like are you actually like if you need to wake up at 4 a.m. to get your workout in, like are you gonna do that?
Yeah,
But yeah, really just like have fun. Like as soon as you stop not having fun, and I don't mean be a clown like on the ice and stuff, but like
yeah,
as soon as you like show up to the rink and you're not enjoying it, like that's when you really need to reevaluate what you're doing. But yeah, just honestly put in the work and put your head down, I guess.
yeah, absolutely. I love that tip. Those are some great tips. So, next question is, what's your favorite pump up song? Like you're getting a lift in before a skate or getting a lift in now. Like what are you what are you bumping?
It was always different. I remember though, my last like few years I'd always put on like Greta Van Fleet, like right before I went on the ice. But yeah, I don't have too many like pump up songs. Like in college, we listened to right before we went on the ice. I can't even remember. I'm so bad at like on the spot. I can't even remember the name. Some rap song. The boys are gonna hate me that I can't remember. They're gonna be like, he's a fraud. Um, but yeah, no, Greta Van Fleet was like one of the ones that I distinctly remember, and they're definitely a newer band. Well, not new now,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of Greta Van Fleet is what I listened to before I got on the ice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the final question I have for you is what's been your favorite barn to play in the coast and then in the SB?
Oh, favorite place to play in the coast. I, I want to say Jacksonville, but I played in like so many other like there were so many like I guess I'll like let me ask you a question. What's your like what's the criteria for this? Like do you like best city to play in or best like fan rink wise?
Best like fan rink wise.
Best fan and rink wise is probably Fort Wayne's really loud, but I played there in preseason, so it wasn't packed. Um, so Fort Wayne or I'll give you. I have to give you three. So Fort Wayne, Jacksonville, and Kansas City. Kansas City's so cool. It's like orange and small.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I don't know. Jacksonville was on like electric. That's the place to like they're top three, I think, in fan base the whole time. Like get the most fans, right? So it's
Yeah.
definitely Jacksonville.
Yeah, absolutely. Now what about like what's your favorite rink to play in the SB?
Favorite rink to play in the SB was probably Knoxville.
Yeah, I've heard
It sucked. It
that's a
was
good
so
rink.
shit. Their rink was. I think they got an upgrade, but like their rink sucked. But like in terms of like packed house, like
Yeah.
that was the best place.
I heard they bring in the fans for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unreal. But Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I want to wish you the best of luck going forward with everything. And this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.